Hey, Brian. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Hey,
COVID-free.
Aloysius.
I hope you guys don't mind the mask. Huh?
Oh, you're in office, is it? Oh,
The mask.
mine's a partial one. Yeah.
Oh, yes. You've got a long way to go.
Yeah.
This was
Not.
developed, I call this COVID-20 instead of COVID-19. Huh? It's COVID-20.
Why
It
20?
happened, it grew this year, during the lockdown period.
Oh.
I didn't shave at all. I let it go. So when we were able to go and see the light of day, I thought, what the hell, keep it,
Yeah, mine's not yet government approved.
That's good.
How are you, Aloysius?
I'm good, Daryl. Thank you so much for joining in. And we're just waiting for Stanley to come in as well.
Okay. Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, no. Thank you for actually giving us the honor and time, to join us here for this talk. I think we're all pretty much in the same boat, in what we want to do, and that is actually to create more awareness, for our seniors, and actually what's coming our way, which is very likely, a lot more people actually having to deal with dementia in one way or another, be it that you're suffering from it or you have a family member, who's actually going to be suffering from dementia itself. I don't know whether I should use the word suffering or not. It's like, it's something that you have, right? So I don't know. Maybe along the way we'll figure out the correct words to use.
Yeah. But, it's really kudos to you guys for starting this station and also doing this series. No, it's really cool that, timely to have this discussion, about how to bridge the gap, about silver matters and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think the example that we can give is like, you are never too old. Look at Brian. He's on Instagram, he's doing Zoom calls, he's doing his shows online off the cloud, and just getting on with it, right? So there's actually no excuse for anyone to say, technology very difficult. No, it's not. It's just, like you're learning to walk now. Just learning to walk differently. That's all, and that's what it's all about. We've seen a lot of people that's actually very inspirational as well. Recently, this term 活到老，学到老. I'm trying to like sound very, still can handle the
wise.
Mandarin,
Yeah.
Confusion is correct. Yes.
No,
Okay,
today's my first LG live, so you guys are well ahead of me.
Well, it's only my third. And for somebody in the media, you're like going like, oh, hang on, there's something not right. But just give it a try. You never know. And I think maybe Stanley is still trying to figure out his IG live.
Yeah, Stanley, you have to press request to join.
And I think Stanley's offering a few choices right now, but okay, we can wait for him. But in the meantime,
there he is.
There you are.
I'm listening to everything that you guys have been saying. Yeah, because
So
hello,
we
hi, Uncle
weren't
Brian.
talking behind your back.
Hi, Stanley.
No. So I was just listening to. I wanted to interject and say something when Aloysius was talking about. Oh, should we use the word dementia sufferer? I wanted to say no. You don't say that. But finally I'm here.
Okay.
They're not suffering, are they? No?
No, you're living with it. You don't suffer with it. I mean, I think it's a lot of times where a lot of people think that, oh, you have this thing, you're suffering, you're so poor thing, this and that. That adds to the stigma, to be honest. I think a lot of times when we have a
world of their own. Yeah.
Correct. And if we have a condition, I think sometimes it's a matter of coexisting with the condition, to be honest. And then you can continue to live life the way that you hope to be with whatever constraints that you might have. But you can still continue to live life.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. And I think this is a good time to introduce everybody. Of course, I think we all know Brian Richmond. He's the voice on vintage radio. He's the man. And if you've grown up like me listening to him, there you go, Uncle Brian, right? And joining us this evening, we have Stanley. Stanley, of course, is the Director of Advocacy and Communications for Alzheimer's Disease Association, the man with the correct word to use, living with dementia. Thank you so much. And of course, joining us today also, we have Daryl Kho. And Daryl, of course, you've just launched your book. Has it launched already, or is it like on pre-sales at this moment?
The pre-sale just ended. It's supposed to launch next week.
Right. So this is kind of like a precursor to your launch line. And from what I understand is that your pre-launch already like macam sold out already.
Yeah, I did. Thanks for organizing this session just for me.
Oh, no worries.
Just to launch my book, yeah.
Just to launch something that's already sold out, that's easy. Like, it was very successful with Vintage Radio.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of support from friends and family. So apparently it was a record, like a record launch actually, pre-launch, a pre-order. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm glad for that. And maybe what we can do is to start off with you telling us a little bit more about the book itself. What inspired you to write that?
Oh, okay. Sure. So I'm a first-time author, so it's my very first book, and here it is. I just got it like 2 days ago. It's called MISTBOUND, How to Glue Back Grandpa. And it's published by Penguin Books Southeast Asia and supported by Touch Community Services, and thanks to Stanley, also by Dementia Singapore. So I mentioned it's launching next week in Kinokuniya, so a lot of bookstores near you, Times, Popular. So what I thought I'd do, since you guys, to prepare for this, I will do two things. If you don't mind, I'll tell you what the book's about first, and then very quickly, don't worry. And then secondly, I'll tell you what the book's really about, which I hope will answer the question that's probably on most people's mind, most of your audience's mind, which is, what the heck is a children's book author doing on a vintage radio station about dementia? So first, the book. It's about a young girl named Alexis, whose grandfather's memories have been shattered by a terrible spell. And the only thing that can put them back together again, the only cure is memory glue. But to make memory glue, she needs a whole bunch of weird ingredients. Stuff like drops from a duyung sweat, Malay for mermaid, or the nose hair from a baku, which is a Japanese dream eater. So, obviously not stuff you can easily find in like NTUC FairPrice, Sheng Siong, or even Amazon. So to get them, she has to travel to a whole different world where magic exists and where the mystical creatures from all the folk tales and fairy tales that her grandfather had told her are not only alive in the flesh, but many of them are also flesh-eating. And if that's not enough, she has to do it while racing against time, against a deadline. After which her grandpa's memories will be lost forever. So that's what the story is about. So now here's what the story is really about. It's a fairy tale that's based on a true story, and one that revolves around dementia. In 2009, my dad suffered a few strokes, which semi-paralyzed him, and also caused vascular dementia. So maybe this is the education section, yeah. But vascular dementia, that's when usually a stroke, it cuts off blood supply and brain cells die because they lose supply of oxygen and food, and you lose your memories along with it. So from what I understand, it's the second most common cause of dementia after Alzheimer's disease. So the stroke took away his independence and his mobility. So at first he couldn't walk and he had to be carried everywhere. While dementia, that stole away his memories and his personality. So for me, in a way, it was almost like him passing away while still being around. So to top it off, this happened, his stroke and dementia happened only 3 months before my daughter Alexis was born. So one of my biggest regrets was that she and her grandpa, two very important people in my life, never really got to meet each other. And although I was very affected by losing my dad, I was also very in awe of my mom, by her strength, her love, her devotion. She was his main and, in fact, oftentimes his only caregiver, because my sis and I live in Singapore while they're in KL. So she basically did everything, take him for doctor's appointments, physiotherapy, acupuncture, daycare, everything, while working a full-time job. So just to wrap it up, this story was inspired and written for the three of them. It's a tribute to my pa. It's a salute to my ma, and it's also my way of letting my daughter meet her grandpa, and have an adventure with her grandma to both save grandpa together. So this was important for me, that for my grandma and for my mum and Alexis to have this adventure together, because they live apart. They don't see each other as much, and they're not as close as I wish they could be. And especially with COVID closing up the causeway, obviously haven't seen each other in a long time. So this book is about family. It's for families. When I wrote it, I dreamed of my daughter reading it to my father. It's not a children's book. I see it more than just a children's book. It's a family novel, because ultimately the main message is that despite all the funky, magical ingredients, it's really the bonds of family that are the real glue for memory glue. It's love, especially family love. Yep.
Well, Daryl, thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's such a great story that you want to put it out there and share with people. And it is about the family, and with people living with dementia, it's not just the person, it's also the family that gets involved. And we've heard stories about the stress that comes with it for family members and all that, but it doesn't have to be, because I think in the past it's always been, yeah, that one just trying to be funny lah, or problem lah and all that. But now that we actually recognize and understand, and hopefully more people are actually gaining awareness of it, it is very much about knowing what to do and then knowing where to go for help. Maybe Stanley, this is Happy, where you can come in and share a little bit more about the resources that's actually available.
The thing with when Daryl first told me about a story, about the real story behind the story, I was actually very touched. This is exactly what we hope to do. I wouldn't say to rebuild memories, but I think a lot of times when people when people get diagnosed with dementia, they felt that, oh, this is a dead end, because I think everybody knows that dementia has no cure for now. It's a gradual slide, basically, and then it's tough to get better. You can sort of stem the decline, but you don't get better. So a lot of people feel that it's a dead end, but what we have always been trying to do with ADA is to encourage them to think another way, that it's actually not the end, but it's actually the start of a new life. You can still, even despite the condition that you have, you can continue to actually lead quite a meaningful and fruitful life with whatever that you have. You can start to do. There's no need for you to sort of hide in the shell. Stop doing anything that you want. You can still do, which is what happens to a lot of people. A lot of people who newly get diagnosed with dementia, they sort of say that, oh, they give up. Okay, then or the family members or their loved ones say that, okay, I think you better stay at home. You don't do anything before you go out there, get into trouble, get lost, etc., etc., and you just stay at home. And then that actually even sort of made it worse. So what you should. We always believe in encouraging people with dementia to continue to have an active social life, continue to keep themselves engaged with activities. And that's what we at ADA do. We try to empower them. Because you see, everyone has a right to live with dignity, and nobody should be left behind. Their independence, their ability to do what they want to do should not be taken away just because they have dementia. So our programs at ADA, so we try to increase awareness, of course, and understanding of dementia, so that we can actually reduce the stigma, and then we enable and involve a person with dementia to be integrated and accepted in the community, so they can continue to do stuff and still be within, do the things that they actually do on a daily basis. And of course, we provide quality dementia care services for them and their families. So that's what we.
Well, that's good to know, and I'm hoping that more and more people will actually know about the good work that you guys are doing at ADA, because a lot of times I think people just want to sweep it under the cover and not talk about it. It's like years back people will say, hey, he's got the big C, but and nobody wants to talk about it. But now everybody can talk about what is cancer and and all that. And I think moving forward really is for people to, and everybody to recognize that, number one, as you grow old, number one, you will grow old. We all will grow old one day, and and we will have to live with dementia one way or another. And so the thing is, like, not the dementia. No, don't have to hide away from it, but really recognize it. And especially the fact of the matter is this, right? And some of you have heard me saying it before, but the numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. In 10 years' time, 2030, there's going to be 25% of Singaporeans being silver, 65 and above, 20%. Yeah, there. And Brian is leading the way. I'm like coming, following up and all that, But the color of the hair aside, the fact is that is going to be there. And more people will be living with dementia. What are we going to do about it? If we continue to hide and shove it under the carpet and go, oh, that one, you're not going to get anywhere. But instead, if we start to look at it and totally understand, and see that coming, the more important thing is really, to learn more about it, to recognize it, and to help. This is us, Singapore. We got nowhere else to go. You move a little bit, but don't inside the water already. That's it, right? So you can't run away from it. And this is, these would be our seniors, the people who built this nation for us. We talk about the hands that built the nation, right? So now it is time for us to make sure that we also understand, what is coming ahead and what can we do as a society to get ready for that and make sure that Singapore is a place where we can support, graceful aging for our seniors and provide them the dignity that should be, because you know what, the very ground that we're stepping on right now, that's because of them. So okay, I'm getting a bit excited about it. But
Aloysius, what's the scary part? The scary part, to me, I mean, the recent population census that they came out, we were talking. And of course, that the one thing that was being highlighted was the silver tsunami. But the one thing that actually that scares me is that more and more people are unwilling to get married, not willing to have kids. So you can imagine 10, 20 years down the road, when people get old and they are not married and they have no children, the family circle becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. And when they have dementia, when they grow old, who's going to help them? If they're living alone, you have couples living alone, or people, who's going to help them? Who's going to be that care circle around them? To if they have dementia, what are we going to do?
Exactly. So I think maybe just to continue on that vein, right? Really, it's like maybe for us really is to start to pay it forward for everybody, right? Again, don't forget we're all going to grow old, right? And some of us will be living with dementia one way or another. So the thing is, can we have people start being a little bit more proactive? When you're out there, when you're in the supermarket, the hawker center, the bus stop, anywhere, keep your eyes open, be a little bit more aware. And if you see somebody there who seems to be a bit lost, nothing will stop you from going up there and go, hey, hi uncle, hi auntie, you seem to be looking for something, maybe I can help you, right? And just offer that. I mean, can you imagine if it is your own parents or your own grandparents there, standing alone by themselves, and then, everybody just tira lapa, go, doo-dee-doo-dee-doo, me, myself, and I, right? So, really, I think what we hope to be able to get everybody, and it's word of mouth, I suppose, and it's us starting, right?
Actually that brings up my other partner, Touch Community Services. That one of the cool things that they do is that they actually try to build a sense of community, so getting the community to watch out for each other. So Stanley, you talked about single families, or single person units, right? No family. So then you need your neighbors and everyone to look out for you. And what they do is they tap on the superpower, the superpower of uncles and aunties. And what's that? The older you get, the more kaypoh you get. Right? And the more... And so you tap on that, and then you harness that to Aseng didn't come to a coffee shop to see his girlfriend today. What's wrong with him? So let's go check on him. So that's the thing that they're trying to, they engage people like that. They train them also to, harness that kaypohness, and then also use it to good use, teach people how to, take their skills. They're good at painting. Then, hey, they can then start a class and, teach other oldies, their gang to just to paint and draw as well. So that's one of the things that they do.
And which is what the mission of Alzheimer's Disease Association always has, which is to build a dementia-inclusive society. So we believe that the care circle around a person with dementia should not be limited to just the family. It should be, it's actually, the circle is very wide. It's actually community-wide, it's society at large. So what do we mean by a dementia-friendly society? It's basically one that comprises of communities where residents, businesses, and other members of the society at large are aware of dementia, understand how to interact with a person with dementia, and how to better support them and their caregivers so that they can continue to live well and independently in actually our society. You can imagine, of course, in the past, there was a period of time where people talk about, if your parents are old, are a bit senile, or having dementia, maybe just send them to a nursing home. And then with a silver tsunami coming, how many nursing homes are you going to build, to be honest? So instead of moving them to a nursing home to do all this, so that you don't see them, or you just move them away so that they can be safe and stuff like that, I think the important thing is that the community itself around you should be dementia inclusive so that you can age in place, which is what we have always been advocating, aging in place within your community, so that you don't have to go you take a senior out of their comfort zone at home and of their familiar surrounding. The decline is even worse.
Correct. Yeah, right. That happened to my dad. Yep.
Yeah, Daryl. Okay, so the thing is this, we would like to encourage questions to be posted, and actually there's one that came in that asked, and I'm sorry I'm squinting because age and all that, silver. What is the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's? And what are the early symptoms of dementia? What is the median age of... Well, it's not a lot of questions, but very good.
Okay,
what's the median age? Stanley, you start first and I'll throw in more questions. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not a clinician, so please forgive me. I may not have all the answers, but the basic things I'm still quite privy. So the first question was what? The difference between Alzheimer's and dementia, right? Okay, dementia is actually the umbrella term for a number of neurological conditions that cause progressive intellectual decline, leading to, of course, increasing difficulties in coping with everyday activities. So, and a lot of people think that, it's part of normal aging. It is not. It's actually a condition. There are various types of diseases that actually cause dementia. So Alzheimer's disease being the most common, I think Daryl has mentioned earlier before. Then, of course, others include vascular dementia, Lewy body disease, frontotemporal dementia as well. So dementia is actually an umbrella term for the rest of the conditions out there. Talk about the median age and stuff. In Singapore, 1 in 10 people aged 60 and above may have dementia. So that translates to about, there was a study done in 2018 that translates to about 82,000 people. But over the past 3 years, that number has been estimated to have exceeded 100,000 now. And that number is growing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What other parts of the questions are there about dementia?
Well, actually, I think there was this part about asking about symptoms of dementia, and maybe this part I can touch on a bit, like early stage, middle stage, and late stage, right? There are like different stages and all this. So
well done, Aloysius.
Yeah, I did some research, because we got interns here and they are very diligent about it as well. So they kind of support us. Like early stage would be things like losing track of time, being a bit forgetful, and being probably a bit lost in familiar places as well, right? So that's kind of early stage. Not saying that sometimes you forget things you are going to, but it's just early signs, right? Then middle stage, you become a little bit more forgetful. Sometimes you're like being lost even if you're at home, if that's correct. Then probably some degradation in the way that you communicate, having difficulty in expressing, communicating. Maybe needing a little bit of personal care more than you should be, and I think all of this builds into a bit of frustration. So behavioral changes as well, because you're probably going like, what's going on, but you won't understand it because that's what it's all about, right? So, it's more like for different people, it will happen differently. And the thing is, Stanley, you spoke about vascular dementia. And I think a lot of information has been coming out about vascular dementia, right? And primarily it is tied to lack of exercise, blood to the brain or something like that. Am I correct?
Stroke,
The-
things like stroke, for
Stroke,
example.
correct. The thing is, actually, brain health is quite easy to maintain. It is actually the same as maintaining your heart health. If you have a healthy diet, you have a good social life, you're active, physically active. Actually, that helps. And then, of course, you basically don't smoke, avoid excessive drinking or consumption of alcohol. That actually helps to maintain your mental health as well.
Yeah. But I guess at the end of the day, it's about very much about, keeping healthy and just having a healthy lifestyle. I mean, you can still indulge in your glass of wine. We're not saying like be a teetotaler and all that, but really it's just have a balance. Now, here, I'm going to throw a very difficult question to Brian, and I hope you don't mind, right? The thing is this, Brian, and if you mind, after you can smack me on the head, it's okay. Uh, um, I think, as we all grow old, the one fear that we have is actually, to have dementia, to be living with dementia. So, for you, for yourself, and I've known you for so long. I've listened to you for the longest time on radio. I've idolized you. The day I stepped into radio and you were there, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Brian Richmond, you know. So this question really to you would be, how would you feel if you were slowly losing, your memory and getting more white hair lah?
Or how would I feel? Before I talk about it, I must say, well done, Daryl. Kudos to your prize-winning book and your story. I'm emotionally touched. Very well done.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay,
Thanks.
there was also a question, Aloy, if you don't mind. There was also a question asking about can it also affect younger people? We're talking about dementia. Can it also affect younger people?
Yes.
Stanley?
Yes, you can. Yes. We have heard of cases of people in their 30s having dementia. The people who basically we categorize people before the age of 60 when they have dementia, it's called young onset dementia. It happens. And Brian, to be honest with you, personally, people with young onset dementia, actually, to me, I feel that it actually impacts them even more because a lot of them are at the height of their careers. They may be sole breadwinners. They have a long runway to go to end of life, and they have to actually they have to manage this and to sort of like give up a lot of the things that they have to manage their condition. So that actually is the one that we are also sort of like quite worried about or concerned with, and we want to do more to help these people.
Is it hereditary?
No, not conclusive, inconclusive.
Oh, they're still learning all about it. Yeah. Well, coming to your question, Aloy, I am afraid of getting dementia. There are times when I walk into the room to get something. When I get into the room, I ask myself, hey, what am I here for? Does it happen to everybody? Because when I mention this to my wife and to some friends, they say, no, it happens, But isn't that the onset of dementia? Forgetting. When you go into a room and you're expected to, maybe take your watch or whatever, and suddenly you go in there and say, what am I here for? I'm supposed to pick up something, so I get out of the room and then jig my thoughts, and then I'm supposed to get that, so I go back into the room and I get it. Is that an onset of dementia?
Uncle Brian, there is an informal thinking among our organization and among our colleagues, is that if you know that you have forgotten something, you're okay. If you realize that you have forgotten something, you're okay. If you don't even know or don't even realize that you have forgotten something, that may be an issue.
Okay, I got you. Well, still talking about fear of getting dementia and all that. For me, it's like if I were to get dementia, my worry is I'm going to be a burden, a big, big burden to not only my wife, but my entire family. Things are not going to be running as usual, and I don't know how to tackle the situation. It is something to think about, and it's not something that you want to dwell on, but perhaps worth talking with the family. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually
well, Brian, thank you so much for sharing that. Go ahead, Daryl.
No, yeah, on that point of being tough on the family, actually, it's true. It's actually tough on the patient. It's just super boring. Okay, just to back up a bit about the different kinds of dementia. There's also different rates of which you get it. So for some it's a gradual, but for my dad it was actually a sudden thing. So it wasn't like we were prepared. It just suddenly happened. And then now going back to the point about the family part, it's tough on the patient, but it's actually, especially if not more, it's more tougher on the caregiver. Apparently, there's some studies that say that a caregiver is 6 times more likely to get dementia. After taking care of someone, you're more likely to actually suffer dementia yourself, because basically through the stress, through the anxiety, and also because you just stop taking care of yourself. You stop eating well, you stop doing those things that you are required to have a healthy heart, healthy body, healthy mind. Yeah.
Right. So I think with more awareness and information about this, right, and also that there's actually help. I think nowadays, with more awareness, a lot of people actually know more about dementia, and of course with organizations like ADA and all this. In fact, there's a lot of information on their website. Stanley, can you give the URL, because I can't remember it?
www.alz.org.sg.
That should be easy to remember, right?
And we have a dementia helpline, 63770700, that you can call during office hours, and then you can speak to someone if you have issues, you have questions, or you just want to speak to someone to lend a listening ear. Yeah.
And by the way, all that information is also available on the Vintage Radio app. That's right. So it's just a touch away. Well, Brian, thank you so much for sharing that, and I think you're being very courageous to say that. I just want to give a shout out to your grandson who's also watching this. Hi, Saul. Thank you for coming in to support your granddaddy. Okay, there's some other questions here. I'm going to try and read that. Uncle Brian, what are some of the activities, hobbies that you include in your life to keep your mind healthy and stimulated? Uncle Brian, this is a question to you. What's your exercise regime?
Watch TV all day long. No, whatever you do, make sure you have some time to exercise. Very important. I make it a point to go and run. All right, I run around my neighborhood and around the stadium at least 3 times a week. There will be times, of course, because of work commitments and what have you, that I will not be able to make the 3 times a week. And I try in between, wherever I can, to make up with some exercises. Otherwise, a run is very important 3 times a week. Another way is going for a walk. Brisk walking is just as good as running. There are some people who can't run, right, for some reason or another. Something went wrong, or they got a past injury and all that they have to reckon with. So go for a walk. Brisk walking, of course. Don't walk as if lenggang lenggok you want to go. Like as if you're walking for shopping or whatever it is. But go for brisk walking. And important thing is do exercise, physical exercises. Get the blood flowing, right? And by the way, I'm just reading a little note here from my grandson. He says, if Grams has dementia, he will still remember to eat his ice cream. You know, that's a standing joke with us because I'm not supposed to eat ice cream due to the fact that, now, you see, I can't even remember what I have. I got diabetes, that's right. No, I'm just pulling your legs away. You thought, my goodness, dementia has arrived where Brian is concerned. But I've got diabetes, so I'm not supposed to eat anything that's made with sugar and a lot of sugar. So ice cream is a no-no. But I'm looking for an ice cream that is absolutely sugar-free. I found it in Coke, so I'm looking for it in an ice cream. Yes, Saul, if you can get them, bring it along tomorrow.
You know, I think I just want to add in that the relationship between Brian and his grandson is just something wonderful. And, you know, I would like to encourage all our grandparents and parents also, you know, aged parents and all this, really take the initiative, take the proactive move of just reaching out and talking to your grandkids and understanding them. You know, don't talk down to them, just talk to them and get them to tell you about their lives, get them to tell you about their interests and all this, because I see the two of them together and I'm like going, wow, you know, if I ever have a grandson, I hope I can have that kind of relationship. Or for that matter, me and my son as well. You know, it's like, that's really something to aim for. So, well, Brian, again, thank you so much for sharing that. And if you guys got any questions for us, really, now's the time to send it in because, you know, we've got Stanley here who can also point you to the website. And I think, again, you know, we speak about history where we don't know a lot of things. Back in the day, where you're talking about things like autism, there was very little understanding of it, very little understanding of cancer and everything else, right? But as we move along with more information, and it's out there now, really, it's very much for us young'uns to go online and just search out and know a little bit more and be a bit more aware. And I think, you know, maybe personally, I think the use of the word silver tsunami might also be a bit salah, like, you know, suffering from dementia, right? So maybe what we want to do is to change that also to say that perhaps in the same light that we have a rising tide of silver that's coming our way. It'll be high tide, you know. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to allow it to, you know, flood us, overwhelm us, or are we going to, you know, do something about it so that we can actually provide a better environment for our seniors? Yeah.
Aloy, if you don't mind me jumping in, you know, you're talking about silver tsunami. Maybe we should call, you know, all the old ones, the vintage people, not the village people, yeah?
I was about to go there, like YMCA and all.
I read your mind. Vintage. We are the vintage, you know, we are the vintage citizens of Singapore. Yes, the Merdeka and the, you know, the pioneer generation.
Yes, and I think
wines.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we should recognize that and you know, not put that down. And I'd just like to give a shout out to Dr. Farhan as well. Thank you so much for joining us in the call.
One
yes,
of my favorite doctors.
There we go. Maybe we should have her on one of these days as well, Dr. Farhan. If you are agreeable, you know, do join us for this chat as well, because I think there's so much that you can also share with us from a clinical side of things. You know, in how we can deal with it and all. I think you know, we touched on something earlier, and that is for families living with dementia itself, right? It's not just the person, but really the family unit that needs to rally around it, not just leave it to one person. And everything that we can do to help our seniors actually delay the onset of dementia, you know, is another day of happiness together. It's another day of joy that you can have, right? And I think, I don't know, maybe it's a thing that we all should do, and that is at least once a week, you know, reach out to our grandparents and go for a walk with them.
Yep.
And it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I wrote the foreword, one of the forewords in Daryl's book. And in it, I said this, that, you know, your seniors in your family, it's actually a treasure trove of experience, you know, of stories that if only you will just stop for a moment to just listen to them, they will be able to share all these wonderful experience and stories with you. So I think it's important for the younger generation to really engage their loved ones, their senior loved ones. Don't let their memories go to waste, and don't find opportunities to talk to them.
In fact, if you can, really put that down somewhere, record it and all this, and share it, because that's stuff that you can't get back. The experience and all that.
There's this quote from a writer from Mali that I really love, and actually also inspired my book, and it's actually written on the front part of my novel as well. It's that when an old person dies, a library burns to the ground. So,
oh man, that's so true.
Our elderlies, our grandparents around us, they have like a lifetime full of experiences, stories, folk tales, war stories, and all that inside them. And if we don't ask them about it, we go to the National Library, we borrow books, but we've got libraries at home. You got to go borrow books from your in-house libraries too. Don't forget that. And then to that point, when a person has dementia, the library is on fire. It's burning down, and that's one of the images that I took away.
Wow. I mean, that's just so vivid. Daryl, there's actually a question for you, and that is, what is your favorite part of the book?
Oh, for a long time, it was when I finally got to the end. But really, I guess the first chapter or so, which was opens with the granddaughter and the grandfather having a walk, and the grandfather's telling her stories, all the folk tales and everything, and for me, it came from my childhood with my dad, and that stuck with me, where he told me about his life stories, and and I wish that she could have had that walk with him. So that is why that's meaningful to me.
Daryl, don't mind me if I ask a question. Is it okay?
Sure. Yeah.
If your dad had read the book, what would he say to you?
You should have said that grandpa was good looking. I don't know. Actually, I did lah. But yeah, what would I think he would have been really proud, and appreciated. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I'd like to take this opportunity to stem from something that you said, Daryl, and that is, the library. That's the mind of our seniors. We're not doing enough yet, I feel, to put that in a place where a lot more people can actually benefit from it. Which is why, we work Brian very hard, and we get him to do this program called Music and Me on Vintage Radio, where, Brian, you want to talk about it?
Sure. In fact, we've got, a storage of memories from all the interviews that I've been doing with well-known personalities. And together we sit and we talk about the old days. We talk about the growing up years and what Singapore was like back then. And then from there we go into the teenage years, and then into the years when they settle down, when they find true love. And in between, they also play their 10 most favorite songs. So it's a treasure trove of memories in our program called Music and Me, which is also on podcasts, right, Eloy?
I am floored by the fact that you can say the word podcast, Brian. Podcast? Wow.
Yes.
No, but seriously, the thing is, the whole idea of this program, Music and Me, is for us to have an audio history of Singapore shared by Singaporeans, their experiences. I remember just earlier this week, Grandma Mary came on. She's at 60, she picked up the guitar. She's 84 now, and she can still recall how, as a child, during the Japanese occupation, right, she and her sister, her mom had to cut their hair short, right, so that, the Japanese soldiers would think that they are boys and then leave them alone, right? And these are stories which I think are important for our young to know, because you don't take for granted what we have now. And that's something which I would like to open to everybody, that if you've got a senior at home with a story to tell, reach out to us, because we want to have that story. We want to put that story on Vintage Radio as a podcast so that everybody can actually have access to that and really, understand more and learn more about the history of Singapore. And I hope along the way is also to recognize the fact that we are where we are today because of our forefathers, because of the hands that built this nation, that gave us what we have today. Many parts about it, but if you do have anybody in your family with a story to tell, with pictures to share, reach out to us, let us know, just get in touch through our app, and we'd like to make that time to record you and your senior, your grandparents, just so that they can share their memory. And I think, years down the road, when you have your kids and your grandchildren and all this, then you can say, this is great grandpa. This is the story of your family. And you're not going to get that at the library. You're not going to get it at the archives, because a lot of things have been destroyed. So we're starting here. If you have those stories, do reach out to us, because we want those stories to be heard. Yeah. So remember, that's music and me. Okay, enough shameless plug of Vintage Radio. Well, we're almost out of time, actually. So do we have any more questions, perhaps, that we can try to answer here before we call it an evening? Because after all, it is Friday. Oh, hi, Miss Ting. Thank you for joining us. Wow, cool. Just a quick shout out to next week. We will still have one more. Oh, wait, question. With important and social distancing measures, any tips on how we can help? I'm trying to touch more here. Inclusive, help to build an inclusive community for people living with dementia. Stanley, you want to take that on?
It's not easy, to be honest. It's a challenge. COVID is always a challenge. In the past, pre-COVID, we had this program called Memories Cafe. It's not a physical cafe, it's not a physical place. But what we do is that we go to different vendors or different restaurants or F&B outlets around the community, where we bring groups of people with dementia and their loved ones together, and then they have a nice party, and then together with the patrons of the place, of the establishment. And when they see, when the public look at, hey, who are these people? Why are they celebrating? Why are they having so much fun? And then they realize that actually these people are people with dementia. They say they're not that different from us. They are also having a good time. They are not as scary or as what sometimes people might think that they are, because they might be a little bit different. They might behave a little bit different from us. So that actually reduces the stigma. That was what we did in the past. But of course, with COVID, we can't do that anymore, which is quite sad. But COVID is always, this pandemic poses a really a lot of challenges, which we are still trying to overcome. And of course, there was the period of lockdown. I saw a lot of elderly being kept at home. They couldn't, sorry, it's not lockdown, circuit breaker. Since Miss Tim Pilling is here, I better say the right thing. It's circuit breaker, it's not lockdown. So they are being stuck at home, for most of the time. So what we did, ADA did, was that we actually issue out tablets, so that they can actually still continue to have via FaceTime, via video conference and stuff like that, to actually continue to have those activities via that. Yeah, but it is indeed a challenge. It is.
It's actually one of the biggest challenges with dealing with my dad, is how to keep him stimulated, because, especially because he wasn't very mobile and he had dementia, a more advanced stage of dementia, and it was actually really sad just watching him waste away in front of TV. It just, so we had to find different ways to do it. I do have some, like for example, like you have to try and stimulate the senses, like taste, go buy him durian or his favorite food, and music. So turn on music like Vintage Radio. Of course, sight. So things like what I found, I wish I found it earlier, is that it's really good now with the connected TVs that you have. You can actually put on YouTube, or if you have a media box, and you can then play like nature view, like nature scenery, nature sounds, birds tweeting and everything, and you know, and I think that really helps. And of course, open the windows. I think sunshine actually makes a huge difference. Vitamin D in darkness, you know, you actually can get depressed, and that brings more of the onset. And then finally, one thing I wanted to mention is that, you know, it came true to me that, you know, I just realized the saying, you know, that old age is like a second childhood. And with childhood, you know, kids, you have toys, you have a toy store, you have Toys R Us. But how come there's, you know, and then of course, you know, there's when you're a kid, you have a cot, and then you compare it when you're old, then you have like a medical bed with railings. You have a wheelchair, a wheelchair when you're old, and then you have a pram when you're young. So like really, it's the second childhood. But there's a toy store for kids, but why is there no toy store for elderly people? You know, stuff that they can buy and just play at home. Simple things to just keep them, you know, active, keep them entertained. So yeah, that's something I was wondering.
Oh, sorry, my mic is muted. Sorry, a question. Duh. A question for Daryl. Hi. Will you be writing another book after this?
Well, it took me a long time to write this book, through procrastination and all that. I wrote it actually for my daughter, but also with the intention of reading it to my father. And it took a while. It's difficult writing and working at the same time. So it took me 6 years. And then what happened in the end was that actually my dad passed away. And so I nearly gave up, and like, you know, I was too late, but his passing away was what spurred me to then finally finish the book. So yeah, I would love to write another book, but and I hopefully, you know, won't have to wait for anyone to get sick to do that, but yeah, I would love to.
Well, earlier Stanley asked a question to Daryl. If your dad was alive today, what would he say to you? Can I speak on behalf of your dad? To you, Daryl, I'm very proud of you.
Oh, thanks,
Well
Brian. Oh, appreciate it.
Wow. Thank you, Brian, for that. I think
Thanks,
wow,
Brian.
that hit me. Okay, I think we have time for one last question here, and that's coming in with. Let me see now. Should one look for professional help for a person with dementia, or should the primary caregiver be a family member? This is coming in from our audience. Stanley, you want to take a stab at this?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of choice, and it's a matter of I mean, every family is different. The makeup of your family is different. The structure is different. So if the family structure is such that there is no one being able to care for your loved one with dementia, then maybe professional help might be needed. Yeah, but of course, and which brings me to another point where actually a lot of people, a lot of caregivers give up a lot, sacrifice their careers and stuff like that, and not quit their jobs just so that they can actually care for someone full time, which is very noble. And it takes a lot of sacrifice. A lot of times, like what Daryl said, you know, a person with dementia, you know, yes, they have a condition, they are living with it, is stressful enough, but the caregiver actually must not be neglected as well. That they need, in fact, they may need even more support from us.
So it's not just one person, but really the whole family unit should try and get together and play their part as well.
Correct.
Well, okay. You know what? We've again gone over our 45 minutes. I'm quite happy the fact that we have so much to talk about. And you know, Stanley, Daryl, thank you so much for spending your Friday evening with us. You know, and for Daryl, all the best to you for your book. I know you don't need it because it's already sold out. You know, like wow, you know, go for second and third print, man. Like once again, a shout out for Daryl. It is MISTBOUND.
Thank you.
How to glue grandpa, how to glue back grandpa, and you know, kudos to you. I take my hat off to you guys at Simon's ADA. You know, you guys are doing a great job, and I'm hoping so that more people will actually reach out and understand. First step to it is really to understand about, you know, Alzheimer's, about dementia, so that then we can actually do a little bit more towards making Singapore more dementia friendly. And Brian, thank you so much for sharing with us, your views. I think it's it takes a lot of courage for you to share what you shared earlier. And you know what? We still got more to go. Next week, 8 p.m., we're going to be back here again. And we've got some very special people lined up. And we hope that you can join us as well. For more information about who's coming on next week, stay tuned to vintageradio.sg. Right? So once again, everybody, thank you very much.
Thank
A very
you.
good evening to you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great weekend.
Thank you,
Hey,
Brian.
thanks for
Thank you,
having
Aloy.
us. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.